What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be installing an LC2i on my 2017 Honda Civic hatchback. Unfortunately, I have the small 5-inch stereo. I know some Civics come with the upgraded stereo. I think it's an 8-inch. But this one, it's a horrible system. I don't know why Civic Honda downgraded with this Civic. But what I'm going to do is install this LC2i. Basically what it does is it takes the high output on the stereo that goes to your speakers and it converts it into a low output so you can send it to your amp, and the amp can then turn it up and send it to your sub.
Okay, so first off, you're going to want to disconnect the negative terminal on your battery so you don't short out your sub if you already have it connected, or your fuses. If you short them out, you could potentially damage the head unit, but usually the fuses can get caught up. So there's one right in here, and then there's one on the driver's side underneath the dash, which I will show you. But this is just a 10mm. You're going to want to loosen it up, pull it to the side so it doesn't make contact. Okay, now at this point, what you're going to want to do is, I have the manual, so I'm going to keep it in neutral so I can move it as I need it. But you're going to take these trims off right here and right here. Mine I can kind of pull off without using any pry tools, but you'll want to use a pry tool either right in here or right up here, preferably plastic so you don't scratch it up. Right here, I saw this is where the previous owner had kind of pried up on it. So I used this and a screwdriver, but it's kind of what causes the damage. So let me pull this off and show you what's behind. So I'm going to use my knife. Don't do this. You can damage the trims, but I'm not too worried about it because I've already pulled it off a couple times. Pry back and gently pull up. That's all there is to it. So you'll want to pull towards you and then up. Same thing on this side. Gently. Once you can get your finger in there, you're gonna pull towards you and then up. Now, what I did was I pulled this back. If you have an automatic, then just make sure your e-brake's on. Pull this all the way back, and then right here, you take your fingers, pull forward. It's very, very slight. You don't need a whole lot of pressure, just gently forward. And then we'll disconnect those tabs right here. Got your white one and your gray one. That's all there is to it. See them right there. There's one right here, and there's one right here. We'll set that off to the side for now because we don't need it. Now, there is 2 holes right here for your screws. These I don't have in. I've got them in my cup holder, but there are 2 Phillips heads, one right here and one right here. But since those aren't in, I can just pull the head unit out. Put you back up real quick. So with this, I pull from right here and just gently pull forward. That's all there is to it. And then on the back, you've got 4 connections, which I'll show you here in a moment. Okay, so forgive the dust. This was all here when I pulled out the dash, but around my RCAs up through where the footwell is for the driver's side, this is just temporary just to make sure it works. And then this is my remote line. I'm gonna feed this down right now, but what I did was I took the main stereo plug with all the pins that you need, which I'll put a picture of right now. And what I did was I spliced them with similar color wires that I had available, and I tucked it back here behind the glove box. So what you'll do, if you can see them right down here, I've got them hanging, but you'll take your glove box, you'll open it up, right? So the inside walls come in. So if you push it in, pull down a little bit, push this side in, pull down a little bit, it'll drop.
all you got to do is pull it towards you and it comes off.
Now once you have your glove box off, see, this is where it connects right here, it connects right here. Those sidewalls come in here just to hold it up. But what you'll do is you'll reach down in here where my thumb is and just pull down gently. Same on this side. This is just a kick plate for underneath the glove box. It protects your fan for your AC unit. We can put this off to the side for now. Okay, so what I did here was these are all corresponding wires, all right? So there's 6 right here total. So the red and the black are my power and my ground. The red is going to be connected to the brown wire in the diagram. Black is going to be your ground, again, that's in the diagram. These two are going to be the left and right, or the left positive and negatives, and then these are going to be the right positive and negative. So the green is going to be your left positive, and then the blue is going to be your left negative. The purple is going to be, or the orange is going to be your right positive, and the purple is going to be your right negative. I didn't have blue, so I had to use orange, but purple is the same wire that you're going to grab. This one's going to be kind of a light blue, and then these two, blue and green, also on the wire diagram. So I'll go ahead and pin these up according to the LC2i. So you have your left positive, left negative, and then your right positive and right negative. And then down here, you'll have your remote out, your remote in, your 12 volt, and then your ground. So all I'm using is the ground, the 12 volt, and if I remember correctly, the remote out. I don't think I'm using a remote in because it does have the smart start technology. So as long as it detects power and it's getting signals to the speaker, the LC2i will actually power on. You don't need a remote for it. So I'll put these in and then show you guys what it looks like. Okay, so these aren't as long as I wanted because I wanted to throw this in the glove box because I don't have anything in there. And it'll stay accessible. All I gotta do is pull the glove box down, and if I need to change the tuning, I can. And that way it's not inside the dash where all the heat is, and I can actually keep an eye on it because if it gets too hot, I don't want something to go wrong. I want to be able to open the glove box and have it there accessible instead of having to pull the entire car apart. So what I'm going to do is I have a bunch of extra wire, and I'm going to connect each of these just about, I don't know, maybe about a foot or so I can place this in the glove box. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it to the ends of these. I'm going to use these little butt connectors. This is just a temporary fix until I can get some more wiring that's long enough to actually get into the glove box. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I have 3 separate extensions. Yes, they're all the same color, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire them up individually so I know that they're in the right spots where they need to be. And then I'm going to try and leave them as connected as possible. That way I don't have a bunch of loose wires kind of like this dangling around. They'll be connected and I don't need to kind of trace them out. So what I'll do is I'll pull them apart a little bit, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire snips. I want to say these are 16. I'm just going to strip them back a little bit. Right there. Take it, twist them up a little bit. So this one I'll use one for the power and one for the ground. And then my remote line is still up inside the dash, so I don't need to worry about that. So what I'll take is I'll take one of these little twist nuts, take my ground. This one I might have to strip back a little more. And then for some extra security, I just pinch them in place just to make sure they're not going anywhere. Give it a slight tug, we don't move, so we're good. And same thing on this side. Take the power wire, twist it up, twist them together. Take another twist. And then quick pinch, give it a slight tug, it's not going anywhere. Simple as that. Now these two, I can move out of the way, they're good to go. If you want to tidy them up, you can use like zip ties, or you can use electrical tape just to make sure that these don't get caught on anything. I'll probably use some electrical tape, just pin it back for now. And then like I said, when I get more colored wire long enough to reach in, I'll go ahead and switch these out. But this one's good. We can put this to a side. I'll just tuck it in right here so it's not in my way. Okay, so we'll start here. So blue is negative, green is positive. Green has got the white strip, so I know on this side, white strip is my green positive. So these will split apart again. Okay, so the cool thing with the LC2i is your terminals actually unplug. So you actually have the freedom to kind of go around and move wires where you need to. So positive left is going to be on the very top. So positive is my white line. And then what I'll do, so unscrew the top one. Take my positive. And we'll go right in there. And you take your screwdriver and tighten it back down. Then we'll take our negative. Take your screwdriver. Tighten it back down. And those two are good. And then all I did was I connected the green and blue. So your green is going to be your positive, your blue is your negative. And then on the right side, you have your purple and gray or blue or whatever it is. I think it's gray, but the purple is your negative and the gray or blue is your positive. And all I did was wire up to this. And same thing with this. So I took my negative, which is the one with the white stripe, We put it right there on the bottom. And then my positive, which is bare, we put it right up here on top. And then all you got to do is plug it right back in and you're good to go. Now, so my phone keeps cutting out because I'm losing storage, but I ran this through behind the stock stereo where everything else is. I wired it into the loom. So basically all I'm going to do now is wire this up with the power and the negative. So I'm going to put this on my remote out because this goes straight to the amplifier in the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottom plug, and remote out is on the top. So all I got to do is unscrew the very first one and then throw this in there. Suckers in there. Then once you plug it in, you're all set. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run them through the glove box. So let me get that set up real quick and then we'll move on. With this, what you'll do is you'll actually, before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wires and I'm going to unplug them from the unit. And then what I'll do is I'm going to take them, I'm going to rip up that big one. Out of the way, take your glove box and you'll pop them back in on that lower bar, and then right here, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a slit. Okay, so basically what I did was I ran the wires up to the bottom, and then there's this little slit right here. I'm not entirely sure if mine just broke or if it's actually like that. It looks like it's meant to do that so this comes in, but I ran my wires through the bottom part of that and then just plugged them in. The only thing I keep in here is my owner's manual, so this won't be sliding everywhere. It'll be on top of that little book, and then what you do is you push your sides back in. It holds up just fine, plenty of room to close it. Everything's good to go. All I gotta do now is take my RCAs and plug those in. I'll probably run them through this side. This side's got the same thing, so I'll just run them through here and then through the back and then to the amp. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm going to run my RCAs, and it'll be the same concept. So what I'm going to do is put them in that little slot. Make sure I give myself enough room. And then on this side, pull this down. And then what we'll do is we'll just tuck that back up in there. I'm going to use red as my left, right, or black as my right. I'll put those in there and then just close it up. And then with the excess wire, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck it underneath the center console. I don't want to pull the whole thing up, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along the base where the footwell is and just kind of push it up underneath between the trim and the carpet itself, and then lead it behind the chair, because right now my amp is behind the driver's side chair. Just temporary until I can get an amp rack for all of this stuff to go on. So this is the RCA wire. These will get tucked up behind that bottom plate, but for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead it around to the back
just like that. I'm gonna take my finger, I'm just gonna feed it right in between the carpet and this trim to the back seat. Oops, there we go. That'll stay there. And then just like that. And then we'll feed it to the back of the car. Okay, again, excuse the carpets. This is gonna be for another video, but I ran the RCAs underneath here and then came out right behind the driver's side door. I don't want to tuck them underneath the racks for the seat, so I'm just going to tuck them right here. There's a little leather grommet where they're not going to get caught. And then basically just plug them right here at the bottom. And then all the excess wire gets neatly tucked underneath the seat. This will probably end up zip tying. But I have extra power cable, I have extra ground, and then the RCAs, of course. This is for when I decide to put this in the hatch, but for now this is where it stays. The amp is already tuned, so I don't need to play with any of that. This is the bass knob. This goes up underneath the seat and then into the center console where the cup holders are, so I have access to it. But that's basically it for that part. Okay, and then again, this is a mess, don't worry about that. But what you'll do is you'll take this kick plate and you'll notice that there's not clips on the back, but these are kind of like prongs that sit into a spot, which will be, can't tell if you'll see it, it's this little hook right here, and then there's one right here. They just slide in, they don't clip in. You shouldn't have any issues with that. So what you'll do is you'll take this, turn it back over, and then if you line them up just right, is it in on that side? Almost did it with one hand. Okay, so they're both in, and all you'll do is slide it up, and then what you'll do is you'll kind of push this wiring up out of the way if you have extra. But basically you'll do that, and then just come straight up. It just clips into place. They're out of sight, out of mind. Nobody's gonna be kicking them. They're not gonna get snagged on anything, and nobody's gonna know they're here. All that's left is to put your stereo, your climate control, and your trims back. So we'll go ahead and start on that. Okay, once you have everything kind of tucked away, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your stereo, and then you're gonna take all the plugs, and then just put everything right back. And then because you don't have anything behind the stereo, you don't have to worry about pinching wires. You don't have to worry about anything getting in the way of you pushing this back. Take this. And just give it a slight push and it'll click into place. And then same with these. Actually, put my screws back. And then you'll take your climate control, put those back in. Again, just a slight push, it'll go into place. And then you'll take your trims. So the thin side is always going to go up to the top. So if the thin side's at the top and it curves to the right, that's going to be your passenger side. What you'll do is you'll push in first and then you'll push down. So in, down. Same with this side. In and down. And that's it. Everything's done and put away. You can't tell that's anything there. All that's left is to plug the battery back in and make sure everything's hooked up correctly. Okay, so you'll take your negative terminal and we'll put that back on there.
car on and see how well our wiring job is.
Alright, so when you first start the car up, you're gonna have a bunch of lights on the dash, and 9 times out of 10 this will say audio off, which is no big deal. Start my car, get the AC going because it is hot, and then I'm not going to turn this on yet because I need to get non-copyrighted music. So I'm already connected. Okay, so as far as the lights on the dash, what you're probably gonna have is, your tire pressure light, and then your ABS, or not ABS, but your tire traction. Those are gonna be on. All you gotta do is drive the car for like 5 minutes and they'll reset. Okay, so this is what it looks like final. I'm gonna throw a zip tie on these just to kind of clean them up a little bit. I do have some extra wiring looms somewhere. I might just throw those in a loom too. And then with the RCAs, probably get away with just kind of tucking them back a little bit. But that's pretty much it for now. I might get some Velcro or something and just stick it up right there. But I think having it here, being readily accessible, really helps out. As far as tuning, I have the AccuBase at mid, I have my main at about 2 o'clock, and then the bass is about I don't know, just before 3. No, that's probably about 3. But basically this is the tune that I got based off of the stereo units being maximized out where I have it. So when I showed what tune I had my stock stereo to, what I did was I turned the volume up to about 20 to 22 without the RCAs connected, because you'll blow out your system. But you turn the volume up to where you want to have it, where you're going to drive around listening to music. And then what you'll do is you'll put the AccuBase at about midway, about 12 o'clock, and then you'll turn your main up, and then when the maximized light starts to flicker, you'll turn back a couple degrees, and basically when this light flashes, what happens is you're going to be getting clipping out of your stock stereo. So the maximized light is going to let you know how much power you can get without distorting the sound, right? So once you have that, then you'll move over to your bass, and then same thing. You start with it over here, and then you move up till it gets about maximized on the light, and then you'll dial it back just a little bit until it stops flashing, and you're good to go. So we got this plugged in, there's a little bit of volume. So you won't really be able to hear the difference other than the sound where you can't really hear my voice. But these are the settings that I have as far as the stereo goes. So I don't know if you can see it, but the very first option is going to be bass. I have this maxed out. You don't necessarily have to do that. The reason why I have it maxed out is because I want as much signal going to the stock speakers as possible. I don't want my sound system to drown out any of the audibles from my front speakers. So the bass is turned all the way up. Your mid, I left this in the middle, you know, OEM position, just because it's at a good point. Messing with it in either the positive or the negative direction is really personal preference. I think it sounds fine where it is. And then your treble, I have it just about maxed out, about 2 notches away, and that's just so I can hear verbals coming from the speakers as well. I can have it go to the sub. My amp does allow for full range and low range. Right now it's on low only, so I have the treble turned up just so I can hear vocals. And then of course your fade I left alone, and then your balance I left alone, and then the SVC for speed variable control. So when you slow down, the music will actually turn down, and when you speed back up to driving speed, it'll go back up to where you had it. I turned that off, but as far as that goes, that's really all there is to it. Tuning, it's all gonna depend on what amp you have. Typically they're all gonna be the same, but a lot of it's gonna come down to personal preference. What type of sound do you want? Do you want more of a mere shaking thump? Do you want something that kind of shakes your whole body? Do you want something that's just enough to kind of add a little thump but not enough to really be noticeable, other than to yourself specifically? I'm a bass head, so I really like to turn my music up, so the more bass the better. This, when it's maxed out and I'm absolutely jamming, I have had my rear view mirror fall off, so that just kind of shows the type of music and tuning that I'm into. But hopefully this video helped you guys out a little bit. If you do have questions, let me know. Like I said, I'm gonna put the wiring diagram that I have, specifically from Audio Control, the people who make the LC2i. They provided me with this wiring diagram, so I'll put that up in the video if I haven't already. I might just put it up just because, and then I will put a link for the RCAs and the LC2i in the description. Other than that, I hope this helped you guys out. Again, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to ask. And yeah, other than that, I hope you guys have a good one. We'll see you next time.